A very weird glitch indeed. All right. Well, put my frequency on. Because I was not. I need to put my frequency on. Give me a moment. So I want to talk today, or I want to start off the topic because again, I'm in this new series that is considered the metaphysics series. And essentially, it's a series I just started a few days ago. You can check out the most recent video I did. Part 2 is located on the Patreon that I recently started. Now I want to make the disclaimer like I did in the first video that I would say usually this is for viewers 21 plus, viewer discretion advised, and this content is for informational purposes only and is not medical or mental health advice, and to always seek and consult your licensed healthcare and mental health professionals for guidance. Want to make that disclaimer before I get into the conversations. Glad I made it. All right. So the last live, again, check it out. It was based on some metaphysics talks. And this time around, we're in the same ballpark, especially if you follow this page and you resonate with the things that I talk about in regards to what some of us deal with when it comes to a specific type of chronic pain. So, the last conversation, it went pretty in depth. As I go along talking about these types of conversations and discussions, we'll just go further into this. So I'm gonna talk about a universal law today. It's not going to be the first one. I'm speaking about a specific one because again, dealing with what we go through, it requires a certain other type of perspective, and I like to share those perspectives in case it can assist people. As long as you heard the disclaimer, again, this is not me. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist. I'm an alchemist who likes to share perspectives on the experiences that we personally go through. Now, this could help anybody. You don't have to have a similar experience like what I talk about on this channel. You could also go through chronic pain, or maybe you go through stress, things like that. So that may help you. It may not. Maybe you want to just tap into different conversations. Either way, you're welcome. So today I want to talk about a certain law and universal law. And this universal law is the law of perpetual transmutation of energy. This is considered law 6 when it comes to all the 12 laws. This is number 6 on the list of universal laws. And one mind told me that is, I think, is important to talk about because, you know, this specific law is in regards to transmutation with elements. Hi, how's it going? Transmutation with elements, you can look at it in an alchemic way. That's going to cost you an alchemic way. So, turning lead to gold or a certain radioactive frequency nuclear energy turning into another state. So, transmutation is always about a state turning into another form. Now, I want to bring that up because when it comes to the experiences that we go through personally in our experiences, you can check out the channel if you know what I'm talking about. I already said hi. So if you're a robot, please leave. The transmutation energy can be looked at from different states. Now, when it comes to the emotional state, the feelings that we go through, you can use the art of transmutation in that way. And that's what I want to talk about initially because everybody is able to change their mind, or everyone is able to change their feelings or emotions. However, sometimes it's not that easy, right? Sometimes it becomes a bit challenging when you feel like you're stuck in a certain state for so long. Like this universal law is considered the perpetual, like the law of perpetual transformation of energy. So imagine you being in a perpetual stagnancy, for example. That can become tricky because you don't necessarily know how to maneuver or flow into another state. Now, this becomes even more challenging when you are in chronic pain. Now, again, some people deal with different types of chronic pain. Um, the chronic pain that I personally go through, or people that are like me that can go through that similar feeling, even though we all have different experiences with it, but we can all talk about the fact that it is chronic or it is excruciating. And there's always going to be a cause and effect to anything, which would be the law of, that would be considered the law of cause and effect, which is the seventh universal law, which, not ironically or coincidentally, but that is the law right after the perpetual transmutation of energy law. So the law of cause and effect is basically every action has a reaction. So if you check out my channel, you'll see that I talk a lot about things that can cause pain in our body, which essentially is inflammation or certain things going on the body based on what we consume or our everyday experience that can cause stress, things like that. So, being aware of the fact that the law of transmutation has to do with one state and transforming into another state. Now, I don't want to talk about it in like the anime way, even though it's an example of transmutation, but for right now, let's make it a little bit more practical or a little bit more earthly rather than it being like abracadabra kind of. We can talk more about that on the Patreon. But in regards to transmutation of emotions, you can turn a negative emotion into a positive emotion, right? And there's many ways to do that. One day or one moment, you could feel super sad, and then you make a beautiful meal that you can then feel good about, you know, or it makes you feel like you make your most favorite meal. It makes you feel a little bit happy because now you're tapping into senses within the taste buds that, can ignite those senses. So that's one example. But let's say you are going through a depressive state. They say in science and whatnot, we have a hormone that helps us to be happy. And it can also help us to reduce pain. So, again, I'm not a scientist or a doctor, but this is essentially talking about what can assist us to realize how to transmute something like emotion, for example. But let's say you are in a depressive state and you're going through low vibrations or low moods. I've been there before. Um, it's not fun, right? It's not a fun place to be in. And sometimes it can feel like you're just there forever. Like you're just there, and it's like, how the hell do I get out of this type of energy, right? Now, the depressive state is based on you not having enough of a certain type of energy or hormone, whatever you want to call it. But at this point, we're talking about these things metaphysically as well, right? But let's say that you're in a depressive state, but you haven't moved your body for a couple months. That is not helpful for you. Why? Because the second law, universal law, um, is the law of vibration. One would say the first law is the law of vibration, but I think the first law is oneness, which is the mind. But I digress. I'm not even here to like talk about the order right now. I'm here to put the certain law of transmutation of energy and showing you how they all connect anyway, which is the first law. Everything connects. So, but let's say that your vibration, going back to again lower vibrations, or feeling depressed or feeling sad, and you haven't moved your body a lot, like you just haven't moved enough. Um, this causes stagnancy, and the second law, being the law of vibration, means that everything is in vibration. Everything is always moving. Everything is always in a certain type of flow. So that would mean that you not moving your body, even though everything's always vibrating, like your body's always moving, right? But you not taking the necessary steps to go for a walk or do a little jumping jacks or do a little bit of stretching or dance, just moving your body. This is going to cause stagnancy, which is going to cause your body itself to feel stagnant, to feel like there is no flow happening. And this is what is going to cause something like a depressive state. Now, how do we go about getting our bodies to become more positive? Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Hey, how do we become, how are you doing? How do we become, or how are we capable of transmuting the state of stagnancy into a better flow state? That would mean you would have to move your body, right? So, if you are feeling suppressed or depressed or heavy, no one's saying to go do a sprint or a 10-mile run or like lift 100 pounds right off the bat, but getting up and going for a walk, for example, breaks up the stagnancy, right? It helps things to dissipate or get into a flow, because transmutation is transforming something into another state. Transformers, robots in disguise. Okay, so this movement, right? Because everything, again, the next law is cause and effect. You deciding to get up and go for a walk is now boosting a certain type of energy within your body. That specific energy that it can help with, exercise, um, and yeah, specifically exercise. I want to talk about exercise, whether that's walking, dancing, whatever type of exercise. This is the type of movement, this is the type of action that's needed to boost something like endorphins, right? Because endorphins is a type of painkiller. Now, obviously, it's not like painkillers that we take in, like, from our doctors and things like that. Those ones are much stronger. However, it's the fact that the body is already designed to have something like that is like a painkiller that can help you reduce stress and reduce pain. So, doing something like exercise is going to be a management, even though I don't like doing stress management, but it's going to manage stress, which can alleviate stress, which can make stress go away. So you have the endorphins, and then you also have anandamide, which is the bliss molecule, which is considered an endocannabinoid. Now, cannabinoids are found in, which I used to do a lot. 2 months in where I'm not doing it, it's a big deal for me. But you have endocannabinoids within the body that are considered a type of painkiller as well, that you can also release when doing exercise or breath work, which regulates mood, which regulates sleep, which regulates pain. So, these are the two types of energies within the body that the body can release, produce to help with something like stress and pain. Now, this would be considered more of a energetic transmutation, which well, that is what it is. But I'm not talking about like the sciencey metals right now, even though that's the main focus on what is spoken about when it comes to transmutation of energy. But there's always going to be a physical aspect to something, a physical aspect to something, and a metaphysical aspect to something. And right now, like I said, I'm in the metaphysical series when it comes to this channel. So, um, yeah, I wanted to bring that up as an example because it can help us understand what other things can we do for our bodies and our mind, helping both of them align so that we can understand our body, our inner world on a metaphysical level just as much as the physical level. Yeah. So that is it for right now. There's going to be a part two that will be posted on Patreon. I am going to either record it first, put it on the Patreon, or I'll do it on my TikTok, save it, put it on the Patreon. Either way, subscribe to this channel if these types of conversations interest you, if you are looking to find ways to be stress free, pain free, to help your mind regulate your nervous system, things like that. I have a lot of content on here and it's growing, and we'll be back with more. Interested in the Patreon, click the link in my bio description here on the channel and register or become a member, subscribe. There will be much more content on there later this month and throughout the rest of this year. Until next year, I'll be adding more conversations, things like that. For now, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.